after we're done the afternoon rundown. I'm gonna hang out and I'm gonna write. I'm gonna write the code. I was sending you my built-in risk calculator. Now we just have to connect it to P. I'm talking to Obi, by the way, guys. Have to connect it to P8. So that was the next step once Hugo gave me. Got it same day. Right when I spoke to you, I got it. But I didn't get to set it up. So gonna be hanging out.
I thought you were like, I'm gonna stay back, and I was like, are we doing towers?
Hey, this guy, we're doing towers. I love it, man. Nothing changes around here.
Obi, brother, your boy has been substance-free all of 2026, man.
Can you believe this guy?
Yeah.
This guy's killing it, right?
We're coming back, man. We're ready. I won't be hanging around because I'm going to go work on my short game, as I mentioned not too long ago.
The
mini putt.
Okay. I thought you were talking about some of the Gymshark shorts that you had there.
My shorts,
which caused the whole thing.
Yeah, man. I inquired about some shorter ones, but they don't have them.
What do you want? 3-inch shorts? What are you doing?
Yeah, man.
Nah, man, that's crazy. Stop,
they got
bro.
The
and you hate on me for wearing tights? Man, you're walking around with 3-inch shorts.
Brother, you wear the tights with just the shirt.
You got to wear a long shirt over it so that it doesn't show all the biz.
That is pure unk status.
That's not tights. When you're Quadzilla,
who do you think you are, Mike Tyson?
Well, you know,
just no shorts, brother. You got to wear the shorts over the tights. You just don't wear the tights,
bro. I don't follow the trend. All right, we bust
well, neither
do
I. I got the 4-inch with the mesh inside.
But I got some cloth covering. You don't.
You don't,
because
brother.
Everything's showing there.
Yeah. With the tank top as well too.
It is what it is. We're having a good time, guys. All right, it's 2:02, so somebody owes us something there. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, guys. Sorry for the little jib talk at the end. Take care, guys.
I'm not sorry.
Yeah, well, whatever. Either way. Peace.
Welcome, everybody.
Yo, what's going on?
Okay, first of all. First things first.
Yeah.
Now the whole like tights. And if you're just tuning in right now, you didn't hear what was just said. Then apologies. But if you did, to rock the tights without the shorts. If I was at a track meet, that'd be your gear. And then sometimes you have like the warm up massive sweater or the team jacket that is longer. Fair enough. It's like warm up gear. I get that. But that's just a whole level of brave. But like Sharif said, if you be Quadzilla up in here, you can do whatever you want to do. And then secondly, who actually says? Now, I've heard people say things like, oh, we're doing dry November, or whatever it is. Dry this or whatever. Most people don't say I've been substance-free.
Yeah, that alludes to a lot of different
type of language that strongly suggests maybe not one or two things. You know what I'm saying? Like
multiple things, more than two at least.
I'm not judging anybody. Because to each their own, and you know what, you do you. But I'm just saying, Joe, like you open some stuff up when you say it like that, brother. I'm not saying. I'm just saying is how I'm going to frame that.
Hey, man. At least I'm being honest.
I
was never really a big drinker outside of vacation anyway.
Oh, respect.
I mean, except for when we go for towers. And that's
which we've done.
Well, you know there's some things that are better for your health than alcohol, right, Joe? Joe knows that to be true. But we'll get off that topic for a second. We'll get back to the tanking market. Boo. Boo to tanking market. Someone in the chat just said, IBIT going to recover. I don't know. Ooh, hey, nice fade there, Andre. I like that. Nice. Well, Andre just said in my ear, that transition was by mistake. Let's do more of that because I actually thought it looked good. I had this kind of like trend break in VWAP on IBIT. I hope it recovers because it's a trade. So there is a stop. It's kind of like a trend break. The prior bar is my out, just like normal. And then the same thing's happening on Intel. But let's be real. This has been a tanking market pretty much the majority of the day from the get-go, from the overnight. And we've been trading lower. We'll have our ear to the ground for anything, any headlines which might move us. One of the reasons I think we could get some kind of a bounce, or maybe sustain a bounce, is for the first time you actually have a trend break in USO. So like you have oil, you have energy coming back a little bit here, which to me would lead to a little bit of a bounce here. So I think that could be interesting for the afternoon. And a reminder to everybody, this is the third Friday. It not only meant that it was triple witching today, but it is also quarterly index rebalancing tonight at the close. There are already, it's 205, not 320 or 330. This is what the imbalances look like at 2 o'clock. So suffice, when I told you yesterday that there would be gigantic imbalances, there will be some very large numbers. Ford's already 20 million to buy. CLP, 12 million to the sell side. MO, 11 million sell. PG, you can go down the line. Halliburton, 7 million. Like, it's huge. Oracle, 5.7 million to buy. This is all early look stuff. So we'll try to keep you guys abreast of that throughout. It'll be it's going to be a little bit difficult to go out for individual names because everything is pretty much gigantic. But the ones that stand out, or anything that people are actively trading, we'll try to get that information to you. Sean, I know Gia has her hockey tournament, so Sean's being a good dad and a hockey dad for sure. And thank you to Obi for filling in. Hopefully, we'll have a fun afternoon. I don't want the market to continue falling, but
I mean,
we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you know me. I'm usually very unbiased toward these things, up or down, as long as it's moving. I think that's all that really matters to me. And as long as it's moving distinctly different than it was a little bit before, that's what I like to look for here today. So what's going on, everybody? Hopefully you guys had a solid week. And hopefully you are, prepping for. I mean, if you take the trade, if you're prepping for some of the rebalancing trades that may or may not be happening today near the close. USO right now, I'm watching this thing. What a beautiful kind of pullback this thing's having. So maybe expecting the market to move a little bit higher here as of right now. But holding this VWAP pretty well here on the day. Where did? Oh yeah, I forgot. Since we got those other monitors, this mouse movement has been a little interesting. But yeah, no, you can see all day long, just a VWAP, hold, extension away from VWAP, and now beautiful reversion happening here on US. So yeah, big day today, Neil, but I was a bad boy.
Well, just like first thing, we have something about the big day. We have a Moihar. Let's see if I got that right.
Moihar?
Can y'all explain, where you from with the y'all? We down south? Love you down south. Explain triple witching in a way that explains whether we're supposed to expect up, down, or nothing at all. What would indicate direction of volatility? Okay, so unfortunately, you're not going to get the answer that you want because it is simply just stock options, stock index options, and stock index futures that all expire on the same day because it's the third Friday. Yep. But it's not, there's no, we're supposed to trend up or that's not how it works. You're just going to get increased volatility because of it at the open. Specifically at the open, but it doesn't really, there's no, we're going to go long or short based on it. What it usually, for me, and I know we said this in the morning, I find on witching days, it's a little easier to get shaken out. There's far more shenanigans that get played in the first 15 minutes of the day. Just much more of this little shakeout as some positioning happens. But the close. It's probably more about the imbalances because it's quarterly rebalancing than it is about witching. If there was, trust me, in over 20 years, if there was something about witching which could predict direction, is not. We'd be all over it, and trust me, we would tell you guys. But it's not like the imbalance locator where it's like it's 7 million to buy.
Yeah.
That's a different beast when we're talking about the actual auctions. I know we're gonna have Sharifa getting locked and loaded. He's not ready yet, but he'll be. I feel like. Sharif, did you always? Sometimes you were on the other side. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I was gonna say, usually I feel like when we do this, Sharif's on my other shoulder, but it's weird. You get used to certain things.
Yeah.
There. Oh, that's true because, by the way, Andre is doing the switching for the show.
Yeah.
All by himself today. He's been an absolute machine. So. It makes it easier not having to switch cameras, which is exactly why he's going to be doing it. Before we get to that, I saw in the chat that Didi, I believe it was Didi in the chat, just said Anna is still going. You know what's crazy? I paid for the locates on this one earlier today, fully with the intention of, if this breaks, I'm going to take a shot at this. And then it just didn't pull the trigger. I don't know why. But even if you did, you got pretty close to VWAP, but that could have been 690 short. Yeah. And then you're really just giving it to 710. It's not that bad, and they only cost a cent a share. But I ended up not pulling the trigger. There's something about it that felt strong. So sometimes you go with your gut, and your gut isn't right because that could have been a trade that worked. In some ways, it is still a strong name. It is what it is. Let's get to the rundown.
Yes.
See what names you guys are interested in. I wonder if Anna actually made the list.
Welcome, everyone, to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every afternoon. Obi in for Sean this afternoon, but Neil and Obi, they're locked, they're loaded, and they're ready to look at the tickers as decided by you. The only way to get your tickers on the Afternoon Rundown, you gotta join us in the chat, and you gotta vote. Throw in that $sign, though, before you vote. Vote for your favorite ticker every day. Now you can vote from 8 a.m. onwards because that's when we're live. And you can vote on any streaming platform off which you're watching us, not just YouTube anymore. All right, let's look at all four major averages. And as we've talked about many times this week, all four major averages are sadly in negative territory, with the NQ really taking it on the chin here, down almost 1.6%. The SPY faring a bit better, down 1.15. The Dow faring the best of them all, down 0.7. And the IWM Russell 2000 ETF getting clipped here, almost down 2%. Just saw it flash a little bit up, but it's down 1.93. Let's start with the first ticker as decided by you, Anna. I was all over this during the midday show. What a great move Anna was today, up 84%, holding off the volume weighted average price. They surged. Well, shares of Anna surged as amid the Middle East tension threatening energy markets. Iran, of course, warned of zero restraint if energy infrastructure is targeted as Israel expands the strikes. In an Iranian strike damaged about 17% of Qatar's energy LNG capacity, causing an estimated about $20 billion in annual losses. Anna, of course, very much adjacent to the energy trade.
I'm literally messaging a guy in my, I used to play ball with, he's in my fantasy baseball league, and telling him there's a stock called Anna that's going ham today. I forgot that I didn't. What's the best way to explain why that actually makes sense? Let's just say he has his hall pass is someone named Anna. I think that's probably pretty easy. So his favorite celebrity. But anyways, this stock has been absolutely insane. You know what bugs me about this? You know what really grinds my gears, Joe? It's the fact that I don't think, at least I know I can speak for myself. I don't want to speak for everybody else. I don't know that I realized this was a nat gas play until a little bit later on in the session. I feel as if if you sit down and you see this action in the pre-market, right? Like you see it do this, you see it base out at prior support, and you know that this is in a segment that can go. And when you see, like, look at the open where it was doing nothing and it just starts to pick up. Because look at how clean this VWAP breakout is. Probably as clean as I've ever, I don't think I've ever seen a small capper do the downward press all the way into the open and then give you this straight up consolidation breakout where you might be able to actually have risked 10 to 15 pennies to be able to play this from 420 to 5 and then maybe hold some for the dream. So it's a wild one. And I don't wonder also too if, I know it's not the best looking daily chart, but if we look at what it's done, if you look at it here since the end of February, right, the theme fits, it's kind of on a legitimate breakaway and it's in the right space. So I think this is one that can make some sense here. I don't know if it has the juice to get past the 7. Maybe this is a look for a continuation next week kind of thing, but as long as it holds VWAP, I think it's got a chance. Remember, it's Friday on a witching day where a lot of eyeballs, let's be real, a lot of eyeballs are going to end up on some of the bigger names for the close and all the index action. So it's not usually a day where traders try to get super involved in a bunch of stuff. So small cappers might end up pretty interesting. I would put this one on the list, at least for this afternoon. But though this $7 level, if it doesn't want to break out 7, I feel like you just have to be really patient to get some dips.
Yeah, I think I definitely missed this one off the bat there. But again, if you had some sort of relative volume scanner, it would have definitely showed up, doing about over 500 to 600 times relative volume in the pre-market session. And then I do like that VWAP breakout in and around that 420 level, Neil. But take a look at this. This is the most volume it's done in the pre-market. That high right there kind of confluences with that $5 level. You can see here this little consolidation where it kind of breaks out of that 5, pulls back in, holds 5 pretty well, and then takes another leg up right there. And not only that, confluence with the secondary pullback back into that $5 level, making a higher low right here at, what is that, $5.27. I like that as well. And take a look at this breakout. Does not look back off of this high right there, and that's specifically 584. So a lot of great opportunities on this one here today. Miss on my part, but if you took the opening drive, if you took some of this consolidation breakout, VWAP hold, pullback hold, there's so many different, I guess, playbooks that can be exercised on this name on the day today. Big miss on my part, but solid trading vehicle.
What's number 2?
Couple things to update you on. The UK ministers now have officially agreed that the United States can use UK military bases for defensive operations. They say the agreement also covers U.S. efforts to prevent attacks on the Strait of Hormuz. So a development there. Separately, Iraq declares a force majeure on all oil fields developed by foreign oil companies. That is vis-a-vis the oil ministry sources. So something to keep an eye on there as Middle Eastern tensions continue to influence oil prices. I want to bring your attention to Super Microcomputer, otherwise known as SMCI, having a horrible day. It's down over 30% after word broke out that the Justice Department charged 3 individuals, including the co-founder, I think his name is Wally Liao, with unlawfully exporting AI server technology to China. Supermicro was not named specifically as a defendant, but they placed Liao and other employees who are defendants on leave and terminated a contractor, and they say the company is cooperating with investigations.
Yeah, well, I think that unfortunately, that's just not going to matter. You don't get any benefit of the doubt. We said this morning. When you are SMCI and you have had the litany of issues that you have had, the simple fact that this happened under your roof and in your house, and it's not an the company involved here, I think the number, at least when I checked, it was about $2.5 billion worth of revenue. And if that does go away, or if there's any more of this, you're talking about a $28 billion revenue company annually. So it's not as if there couldn't be something worse here for them. I can't find any way to be incredibly positive about this, because I don't really see, when I look at the monthly chart, you're losing major support on the monthly. And like, you've got this little wick bottom here into like 18 bucks, like the worst of it in 2024. Like maybe it can trend into that and catch some kind of a bid. But if there's a more out of favor stock, first of all, I've literally never seen any company get added to the index and have this kind of a retracement, and then it just keeps on piling on to the downside. This is like the ultimate stay away, and then the other side of it is maybe just start thinking of this as like a short till it's not kind of deal. But there's another way that we can be playing this. And I know, unfortunately, Dell didn't sustain the breakout this morning. Like, it did make a break. It was able to get through some prior highs going back on the daily chart. It didn't sustain it off of that open, but I think this is still one to watch positively outside of this. If this gains them any extra business, or maybe even just a sentiment issue, this is a pretty good performing name. So I would keep an eye on this for next week, see if it can't take that next leg up. And sometimes it's just a little bit easier in a story like this, where it's like, well, SMCI is so badly beaten up. People have trouble shorting when the stock is that far to the downside. Maybe just look for something that benefited here and see if you get continuation on Dell next week.
Yeah, this one was a bit tricky for me off of the open there. But you can see, bigger picture, this thing has been getting absolutely rocked from its pre-split highs or split-adjusted highs right there, 122.90s I have, and I like to kind of chart some of these. A little bit of a messy chart, but you can see a lot of anchors from the past year or so. We kind of traded well below those on this bigger picture down breakdown of this trend right here, and that happened when was this off of earnings in November of last year. Coming into today, I was a little excited for this one, maybe a little too excited, Neil, where I was just like, okay, well, we've kind of broken down a multi-month low, and it's pretty bad news. Looking at a shorter time frame, I'm just like, okay, well, we've already sold off roughly about 25 to 30%. I think it was more closer to like 27 off of the open, and I was looking for that straight quadunk off of the open, and just being SSR, I was looking for people hitting the bid, and I did see some of that right there. You can see the first initial spike back up into VWAP here off of the open, gets slammed right back in, and that definitely got me pretty convinced that this is definitely going to trade lower, but this swipe right back up to VWAP, I got kind of clocked on that one there, and then you can see later on, the trade does follow through. VWAP hold, slow and steady, kind of bleed out right there on SMCI. Again, you can throw up moving averages, or you know what I like? I like the anchored VWAP right there, and look how clean this test is, Neil, on that push back up right there. So you're a little extended. You come in. It's SSR. It's a little tough to sell into the bid. You come in. You get to the moving average right there, the volume weighted anchored VWAP. Right there, and then you can see that that's where that supply steps right back in, and an all-day bleed. Market confluence definitely helps out on this one. And I think bigger picture, you can see all-time lows are in and around those $17 levels, or the most recent lows in and around that $17 level. I'm going to continue watching SMCI to see if it has more sellers into it, because yeah, pretty bad news there.
I got two things for two things. One, I mean, IBIT's holding up, but I don't think this bounce doesn't want to keep bouncing, so I just cut out Intel. But you mentioned something. You said you were looking for the quadunk. So for all of our viewers out there, if you're unaware of what that means, a quadunk is, quote, an aggressive move to the downside. And use in a sentence, because that's what you do when you're defining something, Jim Cramer said to buy Meta before earnings, and it went quadunk the next day. Now, not only will I let you guys know, so this was April 13th. I don't know who this Nairobi guy is. Probably someone who, like, the first two letters of his first name is N-E, and the first four letters of his last name is R-O-B-E.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm not sure who that guy is.
Who is that
made
guy?
That one up. Hello, my name is Neil Roberts, everybody. Just for the record, I have to put up Meta because I think when I'm 90% sure. What day was that? It was April 13th, 2023.
There's a couple of
It was somewhere.
Was
it? I don't know. It wasn't. Maybe you know what? I don't think that's. I feel like it wasn't even like I must have put that in, but we're talking about Meta over here because I know there was a point he said it at like $300. So I was probably referencing what happened here the year before. But either way, that's what we mean by a quadunk. It's not your garden variety move to the downside. That's the important thing. It's like I'll give you an example. See this little tight stop? That's just a move down when we lose a few pennies. Yeah. A quadunk is what you saw on SMCI. I don't know if there's anything moving like that to the downside here. Yeah. Let's see what the next name on the list is.
Okay, not a good headline coming in from CBS News, guys. According to CBS News, again, you gotta take it how it is, the U.S. is making preparations for potential ground troops in Iran. So that is what is coming in now. Fox News reports that a U.S. official confirms the amphibious group, including USS Boxer and 4,500 Marines, are heading to the Middle East. Tesla, next on the list here, down 2.5. I just want to have to quickly look to see if the market's reacting. Yeah, the market is reacting to that, coming down now. So Tesla in a couple of headlines. Firstly, in talks to purchase about $2.9 billion worth of solar equipment from Chinese suppliers for terrestrial energy production, not for the space data centers. They also plan an India push into the energy storage that expands beyond cars, jobs. The job ads show they're in India separately. There is this headline as well. Tesla expects a Dutch decision on self-driving technology by April 10th. I'm seeing more variations coming out, guys, of that same headline. The U.S. making preparations for potential ground troops in Iran, being reported by CBS News.
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing I did was I looked at what the available setups were there.
Yeah, USO.
Okay, so this was USO.
Boom.
I did not get that break. It was a little too fast. I did not get that. I should be canceling that order on USO because I didn't get that breakout on USO. But then Boyle, which was trading earlier, broke this little trend line. So we'll go long into the high of the day. It sucks because it felt like there was a chance that this market was going to bounce. And now we're going to be a headline-driven market, at least for now. Probably whatever. Tesla breaking the low of the day. Surprise, surprise, the market's breaking the low of the day. Like, what do you want to happen here? This is pretty much as you would expect. Tesla, for the last couple of sessions, what have we done? We've lost the 200-period moving average. We've lost major support here at $380 on Tesla. I've said before, I have a sign me up, or I guess not sign me up, like loaded up level that I think can come on the monthly chart. Last year I felt this way about 220, 222. One of my favorite number is 42. My second favorite number is 22 because I like Will Clark as a kid. Yeah, he's still a pretty cool dude. Now a baseball player. But that was a good dip buy, and I do think a test somewhere in here of the 280 to 300 level. That'd be the 50 period on the monthly. It would not surprise me. I know that seems like an extreme place to go, but the last time we failed off 500, you went down to 220 bucks. It was more than a 50% retracement. So I'm not even thinking that it's that much. And if we get down there, I think that's a good load up spot for Tesla for today. Unless something changes with these headlines, like I guess it's more of like a rinse and repeat, long energy, short market stuff this afternoon.
You know, when it comes to Tesla, I think again, I'm just looking at this from you know, a relative volume versus playbook kind of setup perspective here, and it gave you a few places. Gave me a few places to definitely look for a reversion here. In the pre-market, already doing a decent amount of volume, relative volume at 2 times. So when, I've said this before, when it comes to something like a Mag 7, the market cap is relatively large when you compare it to pretty much everything else. So when stuff like this starts doing 2 times, 3 times, sometimes even 1.5 times relative volume, I definitely like it. It definitely piques my interest here and opens it up for some potential execution, I guess, opportunities right there. So in the pre-market session, you can see right here, strong selling. When that trend breaks, the bid gives you a nice, decent reversion, over 50% reversion of this leg right here. Strong flush off of the open, so you can kind of consider the break of this pre-market trend. Remember, it was doing relative volume. There are more participants. In trading Tesla in the pre-market than before, or compared to the last 5 days at the very least. That's what that indicator pretty much says there. It's a relative volume on the 5-period measure right there. So on the break of that pre-market trend, you get the strong flush. Sure, maybe you can be like, all right, I missed that. Market maybe selling off as well, VWAP continuation, and take a look at what happens when this trend breaks. Kind of reverts back to VWAP and then breaks that VWAP for another relatively 50% or slightly more reversion back to the upside. And then take a look at this once more. When you break that bid, you come not only 50%, now you're coming all the way back in. Of course, you have a bit of a market catalyst as well. That's definitely helping out on this one. But again, a great vehicle, and it kind of told you that it might be in the pre-market doing that relative volume here. So I really like Tesla. Didn't really trade it today, but you know, kind of looking back at it, going over some potential trades right there. You can see if you kind of zoom out and you're not really too busy with the minutia of some of the price action on a shorter time frame, you can see on a multi-frame, on say like a 5-minute or a 15-minute, it does very well to kind of you know, give you clean opportunities. Nice. What was this?
You know which word it was.
Okay, yes.
No, it's minutia. I mean, come on. Quaduk is a normal trading term. Nobody says minutia. Whoa, what just...
Something is happening. Yeah, there you go. There's that second leg on oil.
We're going to shoot in a quick little second, but the book here went from, for a split second, we went from like 18.3 right down to 18.10 on Boyle, right off of the high, and it's like slamming around here. So, it was, I mean, look, at a $18 stock, you're talking about a percentage point. I know it's a leveraged one, but we just had a bit of a shakeout at the high, which is usually me jumping out, trend in, resistance out or trend out. What other news do we have here, Sharif?
Right, guys, more information on that. Here it is on the screen. Senior military commanders have submitted specific requests aimed at preparing for such an option as President Trump weighs the move in the U.S.-Israel-led conflict with Iran, the source said. Trump has been deliberating whether to position ground forces in the region, sources said, on conditions of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. It was unclear what the circumstances he would authorize the use of ground troops would be. This is, again, coming vis-a-vis CBS News. Drama, guys. Dermata shares rise after a USPTO issues a patent notice of allowance. So the shares were up big. I was involved in this one during the midday after the U.S. Patent Trademark Office issued a notice of allowance for a patent titled Compositions for the Treatment of Skin Conditions. The patent is expected to be granted after standard procedures. Good move today for Drama. I believe it is up here, guys, almost 30%.
So when you were trading this, Sharif, did you have a victory? I like that show. Maybe not. Do you know what show I'm talking about?
No, absolutely.
Okay, it's fine. Does the chat know what show I was referencing there? Just so it's less awkward. I'm sure somebody had to know where that reference is from. Sharif knows. Sharif, we're about the same age. I know you know who I'm talking about. Thank you, Real Johnson 70. Whew, thank goodness. Sean P in the chat knows as well. So okay, feel a little bit better about that now. But you know what, Obi, I actually think this is something that
maybe
you can look at a little bit more. I think anybody. Like if you like mean reversion trades, I know I like mean reversion trades. This can be tricky. I didn't really draw this the best, but if you look at it from VWAP, if I do it there is probably a little bit better. Like when you see like volume steps in, you get the hold off of VWAP. Like to me, the breakout is breaking out from here. So when it confirms that hold, you have a clear trend line on the 3-minute. Look where it breaks, look where the second bar is, and now maybe you don't want to chase a move there, so you have to stop it out for that much of a move. But when it gives you this lower high, well, look at it, respect this lower high, and then you can grab that short to there or that short. Like that's some standard sort of mean reversion type stuff, and then it gets under VWAP. That's not a bad trade for you. But the other way to think about it is this is a second stock that we've seen today where it was trend up, right? So it was gapped up, spent a lot of the morning falling. We know that Anna stock did as well. And if you leave it for dead, it then does a rounded bottom and does like a typical breakout pattern. If you're a small cap trader, if you're trading these kinds of stocks, sometimes you have to have an incredible amount of patience to look for the long trade. Because there's really not much of a reason to be long this until maybe this double bottom gives you something in here and maybe you like that. I would say this breakout gives you like a consolidation, the small one there, and definitely a good consolidation break here. Like that's a reasonable, very reasonable entry is this, trying to break that long and then maybe give it to this level. And patience is required. It was like that for Drama. It was like that for Anna as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I kind of drew a little bit of that trend line as well. I'm just like measuring it out. I'm like, yeah, okay, you know what? In the middle of the day, it doesn't really do too much coming in off of the open. You can see sure, it's doing relative volume, but this kind of chart I like to call crumble because it's not really doing too much. It looks like breadcrumbs on a chart. You can see spaced out kind of bars, kind of gapping up and kind of very choppy there off of the open. But volume definitely starts to pick up after noon, after 12 o'clock, and you can see some more kind of fulfilled bars there, and you get a bit of a trend with expanding volume. Now, the trend break, absolutely solid. If I'm watching this one and I'm like, all right, volume's coming in randomly in the middle of the day, maybe it's news driven, you get the break out of this pre-market high where we were doing some decent relative volume there, and that's in and around $1.68. It gets all the way up to $1.84. And if you take the breakdown of that trend simply just for a reversion back into VWAP, you get about a 2.5 to 1, which is not bad at all. Pretty solid. You can see here that it's done about 36, almost 37 million shares traded on the day so far. So definitely a little bit of drama, but I guess it didn't really start until about noon there. So middle of the day.
Super chat time. We've got one from Dave Z Sequoia. We know you, Dave. We appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, when the kadunk makes a quadunk, oh yeah, right. Okay. See, this was one of those read it first moments.
Yeah.
You guys, I think everyone can understand what you mean there. And then when to the stock part, SMCI, like SMCI, don't Urban Dictionary it, trust me. Well, that just made everybody Urban Dictionary it. It's Friday.
Nice. Everybody,
so let's be real. The market's tanking. So
unless you're down on Friday.
Unless you're looking pullbacks in energy, which is I'm thinking we'll buy the dip in Boyle if we can. We have to be pretty patient with this. And oh my goodness, we'll get that one. We had a second super chat, but I think that was just like it was a little baseball related. From Mr. Cheeks, Deep Cheeks.
Sorry, what?
No, just like we were talking about 22. So we gave a super chat for $2.22 because it's my favorite number. Because his favorite player was Brett Butler of the Dodgers, who also played for the Giants and was a great leadoff hitter. You probably wouldn't know who he is. He played a long time ago, but he used to bunt a lot and that kind of thing. So I don't know what's next on the list, Sharif, but let's just say, I don't know, maybe it's got something that's, is it going to be spicy? here, I'm going to try to cheat as I say this. Does it maybe, could it be the most important company in the world?
It is.
Is it?
The most important, at least for now, guys. Before we get to that one, I want to, never really a good thing to report this, but the Russell 2000 index now officially enters a technical correction, now down 10% from the record highs. We've been making a lot about how the market's, 5, 6, 7% off all-time highs, none in a technical correction. Now one of the four major averages, 10% off the highs. We'll have to see if it closes out that way. NVIDIA. Next, guys, last one here on the list, and they are going to sell up to 1 million AI chips and other products, not just chips, networking equipment as well, to AWS by the end of 27. Very big, longer dated here revenue stream for the biggest company in the world by market cap.
Yeah, the biggest company in the world just lost a 200-period moving average today. So you saw Tesla. Well, this is Tesla. How eerily similar does that look? Like long time support going all the way back into November. We lose it yesterday. You get the continuation today. You want to hope that NVIDIA doesn't do this. There's one thing NVIDIA has a couple of things in its favor. The first part would be that the actual price support has been 170. So it's actually held 170. That gives it a chance to bounce there. The second thing it's got going for it, it's got a low 20s PE, forward PE that means. So if they were to beat next quarter, then in fact they would be underneath a 20 and better than a market multiple already now. So it's at the price where you would expect there to be buyers. I think that's why you could see further consolidation. Let's put it this way, it's not the end of the world if the fact that people are done with NVIDIA because they think everything is priced in and they move to the memory names, which we already saw happen, and again, if we move to other sectors as well, and if the theme has changed, then it's not a bad thing if in the midst of that, all it does is go sideways and doesn't actually retrace. Consolidations like this, when people call it dead money, I always find if I think a company that prints money turns into dead money, then usually there's an opportunity off of that. Now, if it starts breaking down, that's a completely different story. But as long as we hold on to 170, the longer that happens, the better an opportunity it effectively becomes. The longer it coils. Unfortunately, we're in a situation where it's coiling. We're also in a situation where I just looked up, and every time I'm looking up, I'm just looking to see if Boyle's going to get back to VWAP so I can re-enter the long trade. It broke trend here and got to the high. I want to look for something down here about 18 to get back in to the long. Boyle, of course, is a leveraged ETF for natural gas. Should be going up in this environment with the market going down. For this afternoon, you're basically trend down in NVIDIA. And the way I see it, if you're looking at energy, if energy doesn't pull back, the market's not bouncing, and vice versa. So I can't think of a reason like either the other. If you weren't looking at Boyle or something like that, I'd probably be thinking about should I be shorting pops in something else. I'd be thinking, should I short pops in NVIDIA or maybe AMD, or should I buy dips in Boyle, which is the energy name I was trading today? I'll go with the buy the dips in the energy name just to keep it simple for myself.
Yeah, Neil, definitely not really doing too much. And I definitely agree with you there on the potential shift towards memory names like we've seen with Micron and SanDisk, maybe some WDC and STX as well. But when it comes to NVIDIA, yeah, it's definitely taken a bit of a slowdown here. Sideways action. Now, I ask myself usually when I see this, where and when was the last time we saw kind of a similar sideways price action? That was here during June of 24 to roughly about February of 25. We did kind of break trend there. Last time, when were we at the 200 period? Yeah, we broke that down in and around March, April of last year. And if you guys remember what happened in April, I call it the month of the presidential bid, where Trump came in and basically was like, hey, buy the market. The market's it's a great time to buy. And since then, we got a pretty much straight line up, a little bit of turbulence along the way, but for about, 30 bars, it says about 210 days here until November of 2025. Since then, we've been trading sideways. But you can see that sideways kind of left shoulder, if you want to call this a head and shoulders, so far. That shoulder started being kind of constructed in and around August of last year. We've just been stuck in that range over and over again here. But when I go to a higher time frame, Neil, I'm just like, all right, let's kind of zoom even further back. This is the largest market cap in the market? Are we just slowing down? Are we taking a break? NVIDIA is still kind of the leading supplier of the whole AI game with their chips. They do have the bleeding edge technology when it comes to this. But when I zoom out, I like to look at 3-month charts as well as some higher time frame stuff as well. You can see we've done this before. We did this in 2024. Going into 25, and we're doing some more here. The question becomes, can it stay above 152? Because ideally, I'd like to see it kind of stair step up if I'm looking for healthy action. But yeah, no idea what we're about to do. But with the market doing what it's been doing, and with whispers of war on the horizon, some would say we're already pretty much there, and we're getting news of soldiers on the ground, boots on the ground right now. Yeah, this could definitely take a little bit longer than required. I do want to take a look at USO here as well.
Just very quickly, we did get a super chat from A. Morhar again. Yes. Holy SPY going to finish greater than 2% down.
Minus 2%?
It's not impossible.
We're there right now.
No, the NASDAQ.
NASDAQ is.
Yeah, the ES is only 1.5. So the SPY is actually down 1.5%. Like tech is actually leading the move down, and we're in a situation where obviously like the diversification of the SPY is going to do it some benefit here, as the energy name of the SPY will hold them up a little bit, and you have the tech-heavy nature of some of what's pulling us back here, doing some dirty for the NASDAQ. Typically, the one thing that working in the favor of not getting to 2% is, remember what day it is today. It is a rebalancing day. Yep. So there's some stuff that probably happens at the end of the day where like some things are just going to get bought up because they are going to have big buy imbalances. Like they're major upweights, and that's just how it is. Yep. And that can turn in any direction. So it's really, to me, it's a scalp, get in, get out. It's always that usually on a Friday afternoon, but on a rebalance day, that's even more true because anything you're trading could end up on a list where, like the front of my page, the lowest number is 7.6 million. Usually at 240, there'd be nothing over 1 million shares here. Like what is our ITM? 39 million to buy, 422 million to buy, BMY 10 million to sell. These are huge. Oracle, 7 million shares to the buy side already. Disney, wow. 6 million shares to the buy side. And remember, this is only the New York NYSE. You won't even see any of the NASDAQ imbalances until 350. But they are coming. And so that's sort of the thing is you don't really know. It's really hard to predict just how much follow through there will be or even can be at this point. That said, we're not really showing any signs of abating this move. Like I looked back over, I looked up. USO's at the top and didn't pull back. And I remember when I missed the opportunity on USO for that, like the first thing I tried to do was break out that high on USO when I heard that headline from Sharif. Wasn't able to grab it, but we were able to find, and what I've noticed is sometimes this has been true, is you can get like a bit of a lagging move in Boyle, but that pullback didn't get to VWAP. Like there was some selling there at the 1830, but the pullback didn't quite get far enough. I'm going to be watching for the next sign on USO. Like if I see this one dip a little bit, or if I see it really start to break out and nothing is happening here, I'll just jump and play one off of the other is going to be the way to go for me. I'd rather just sort of stick to those two energy names. I am in this WBD, but if you've watched the show long enough, you know that I like mean reversion trades. So I'll keep the explanation really simple. It didn't really it kind of did it yesterday, but I wasn't really trading it yesterday. This has had moves up. This is Warner Brothers Discovery, that buyout deal. Like big moves up in the morning to get mean reverted down to the low, and sometimes it gives you a full percentage point. It just did another one today, like all day long move up, double topped it and reversed. So that's just a trading setup that I like. So when we like a trade setup, then we take them. I don't think it doesn't hurt if the market's going down, but it can probably still fall if the market drives, because I think we can get back into that 40 level. So less than, it's only 15 minutes until we have power hour. Mm-hmm. Plenty of time. And remember, we've got to keep the ear to the ground, which we will do. Sean's away because his daughter's at a tournament. Adara actually wasn't feeling well, so we will not have Adara. I've got my earpiece in, so I'm listening to the news, and of course, I've got the Xbox up there. Not Xbox, the Xbox. But I've got X up, so we're monitoring the news, and we want to keep abreast of any headlines that come through. Because anything, like all it takes is one headline, and all of this can reverse. Oh, yeah. And I would suggest this is probably the kind of market where you should keep oil up somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, you should have some kind of an energy name, or at least track oil, whether it's directly oil futures. You want to look at USO, then I think that's going to help you, especially if you're sitting there looking to try to catch the bid on something, because I don't think we're catching any bids until this reverses, which is fine. I think the next time there is a pullback, like when we pulled back here, I tried some longs, like when there was that. Like, see, like, I don't know, it's probably easier to see if I do this. Like, I went for a long on IBIT, which I was trading alongside earlier. When this broke trend, I'm like, okay, well, now I want to try this breakout off of VWAP on IBIT because we're finally pulling back in energy. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. When we try to break back down, can I get some kind of a long setup that works? Otherwise, just keep it simple and buy the dips elsewhere.
Yeah, I think
so much.
I think you make a great point there. You know, having USO on the board, that's pretty much what I've been doing. Every single day, I have a dedicated area on my screen space where I just have the USO up with the level 2, with the trading book open, and just continuously watching it. And you know, it's been an absolutely solid trading vehicle as well. News driven catalyst, like yesterday, absolutely solid short after that spike up, maybe potential capitulation there. But you can see what it's doing here. We had that initial spike up and move coming in to March 9th. That was the Monday right there. I did really like the short that day, and oh boy, what a crazy short that was. We defined some levels. If you guys remember there, on that Monday last week, defined some levels, and I was like, these are probably going to be important going forward. Now, I haven't really moved any of those levels, Neil, and guess what we've been doing all week long? First two or 3 days, I defined the levels. I'm like, all right, this is the range. This is the opening range of when this move went absolutely crazy. For this whole week, Neil, this whole week, coming into Monday, pulls back into a level, right? You can say range lows, because now going 3-4 days in, we're like, okay, yeah, this is a range. This has now become a range. These were key levels on day one of this move. And guess what? We've just been kind of, you know, ping-ponging around these levels. 124s and some change. We got a high. We got an attempted breakout yesterday on that catalyst, slams right back in. False break of this high, confluence with the range high as well. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely beautiful short yesterday on when it fails to follow through into that 125 area, and then you get a sell-off all the way down to the lower end of the range. That's a pretty strong move, going from the high of the range to the low of the range within the span of what? Let's just measure it out. Within the span of 3.5 hours. So in terms of price action, I'm just like, yeah, does that mean it's a little too far, too fast? Guess what happens? The low of the range support holds, it respects, and all day today. Sure, we're getting news throughout this whole week, and the news has been volatile. It's made this oil as well, made it pretty volatile. But you can see what's happening here. Bigger picture, we are setting up for the next move. You can see this consolidation. It's literally ping-ponging between those levels. Consolidation at the high of the range that was developed from last week. So now the question becomes, if and when we break out of this 124, how explosive is that move going to be? Is that going to be catalyst driven? I definitely think so.
I have a feeling that there's at least a 50-50 chance that gets gapped over the weekend.
Yeah, of course. Easily, so easily.
Especially because, and that could, part of the pressure right now is, like, would you want to be short energy over the weekend with this escalation?
Absolutely not. I don't want to be short the market.
Who would? But yeah, like you might feel okay short the market. I mean, the thing about shorting the market as a trade is most people are generally speaking long in their long-term accounts. Yeah, no, that's which fair. Makes short it term, yeah. Which when we have a risk-on event, it makes it easier to be swing short for a trade from a trading aspect. Yeah. If you're not separating those two brains, I get that. But I have a gut feeling that it might be more of a gap than anything else.
I mean, that's what happened last Monday. Right, we kind of gap up into an area, and we gapped up a little. It was kind of on my radar. It was checking off a few boxes. So coming in last Monday, I was like, yeah, I only want to be short oil because I do think it's a little too far, too fast. Now got a little bit lucky on that trade idea, but I do like how technically sound some of the stuff is. And you know, shout out to Linda Raschke. who I kind of follow and have gone through some of her material. She's a commodity trader and an absolutely solid one at that. And she always talks about how some of these commodity moves can be so technically sound when they do show up, and you can see an example of that happening here on oil. Now, of course, I see things, I kind of chart my own way there, but you can see just based off of support and resistance levels, simple ones that we've charted from the open of last Monday have been holding quite well. So yeah, I think you're right. Definitely the probability of that price action happening in a non-open session, I think is very high. Again, we talk about some of the best moves happening in the after hours over the weekend. And you got to remember, commodities trade pretty much 24/7. When it comes to crude oil, I think crude oil only closes on Fridays for an hour.
Yeah, it is something that you have to be concerned about here. And I think realistically, look, absolutely anything can happen. We're still driving to the downside. So I just saw, I was sort of talking about what I was looking for next. If we're not going to dip all the way into VWAP, then I'll nibble into every technical level I can find. And the only one that you're looking at here is a pullback into the prior high here on Boyle. So this was, at the moment I got in, USO, I'll zoom USO in. At the moment I got in, USO was pressing this consolidation, so it looked a little bit better. But if we do lose on USO, which we could be losing that bid, I don't want to give this past the prior high. Like if we're going for like the nibbling aspect, like I feel like if it's not an event, which this trend break was that last headline we got, which was pretty extreme, then I want to resemble sort of like the morning where it could be a little bit more choppy and you're trading inside the range instead of expecting like the gigantic move. And that's going to require keep it tight, and then move on to the next. Like kind of accept that, okay, well, if that's not gonna be the bounce, like don't let it lose the quarter here. And if we do lose the quarter, then I don't mind jumping out of it. And then just looking for the next spot. Because there is that chance at a reversal, and I still have my eyes on, particularly IBIT, I'm still looking at for that reversal trade, because I've been looking at Bitcoin pretty much all morning. And if I see that harsh move in USO, which I think we're getting a trend break now that I look at it, we are breaking that trend. So my trade for the trend break is looking for the breakaway from VWAP on IBIT. Like what tried to happen here, like it ends up trying to break this trend line and didn't. Once we get through, I think there's some explosive upside if we get this trend break. Again, it hasn't happened yet, but certainly we're on the precipice at least. And remember, in 30 minutes or so, we'll probably start to see a little bit more action that's related to less headline driven and more close trade driven. Trust me, it is going to happen at some point. You're going to start seeing some weird stuff on some of the bigger NASDAQ names closer to 350 because no one has a heads up on what those are going to look like until they come out. So you start to see some really weird stuff happen on things like Apple and Microsoft. And there are some names that I can actually give to you if I still have it up. Shoot, in terms of what we're expecting, I don't know if I still do. I'll have to find it. Is this the right one? Give me a second. That's Toronto.
Some of those names?
No, you know what? I had the spreadsheet up, but I must have like closed it. When we get closer to the close, I'll let you guys know some of the expected moves. I feel like VST, Vertiv is one of the biggest ones that we're expecting to the upside. Intel, I think, is supposed to be a big bid. Ooh. That's one of the reasons why I was looking for every single, if I can find an entry point into an Intel long, it's supposed to be a big upweight today at the close. And so the fact that it's drawing down, any trend break in the last hour, I'm probably going to take a shot at. Because if I can hold it into the imbalance, then all the better.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to be waiting patiently for some of those imbalances to come in here. Quarterly imbalance doesn't really, quarterly rebalancing. Doesn't really happen that often, about 4 times a year, and definitely worth kind of sitting on your hands, waiting for the right kind of opportunity on the day today. But if you came in today and you were like, okay, the potential for a free fall Friday is very high. I'm just looking at some NVIDIA here. I know a lot of people were talking about it. It was on the rundown as well. Just talking about opportunity on the day. Take a look at this. It tells you off of the open. Those of you who are looking for potential, trade ideas, or we talk about playbook development, things like that. Let's go through some examples of what that could potentially look like, right? On a name like NVIDIA. Now, I know not everybody is going to be trading NVIDIA. I know there's a lot of edge in small caps, but when it comes to price action, I do believe that it does not matter. You can remove the axis there. You can remove the prices there. Just give me some candles, maybe give me some tapes with the size of buyers and sellers as well on the book. And yeah, some of these vehicles are definitely very, very tradable. Let's just go through some of the action that I'm seeing right off the bat here. You can see pre-market low breakdown right there, right off of the open. And even if you miss that, that's telling you right there off of the open that sellers are in charge. A retest of that pre-market low right here as well, it tells you that sellers are in charge once again. You see that bid getting slammed right back in. VWAP hold, and if you weren't there for that either, take a look at this, opening range low. Now I know there's a lot of research on 5-minute opening range low, 5-minute opening range breaks as well. You can see here that opening range gets taken out, does not look back, and that's in and around 176, 70s for a trend all the way down into 175s where we finally catch a little bit of a bid. Guess what? Volume weighted average price. So what does that mean? That's where majority of the average participants are sitting at. That comes in at 176 here, coming in and around that midday level. Guess what? It comes back into a key level and it shows you once again that, hey, sellers are in charge. Let's go again. You can see now the day low at that point is sitting at that $75 level. Let's break it down even further. Trends low. Sellers have already shown you who's in charge at VWAP. You start to make structure low. Maybe this is kind of, no man's land, sideways consolidation, whatever. But take a look at what happens on that 175 low breakdown. You can see right here, even if you do not take the breakdown trade, even if you're somebody who wants to wait for absolute confirmation, right? As if you haven't already had confirmation that sellers are in charge at multiple key points during the day. It bids right back up from 74 halves into 75s, and guess what? Sellers step right back in for another break of structure. Now, throughout this whole time, you can see the market tailwind is definitely on your side. So a name like NVIDIA, you can see here, if you're looking at it, you're like, okay, how can I develop a potential playbook in and around some of these price action moves on the day? Pre-market low break, opening range low break, VWAP hold after sellers have shown you that they're in charge. VWAP sellers, once again, day of low breakdown, right? Day of low retest. There's so many different opportunities where you can get in, and in my opinion, these are high expected value opportunities where you've seen who's in charge, the price action and the chart is telling you, it's talking to you, and over again, it's shown you the same thing. So how many times do you really need to see this to get involved at clean points? Now, I know a lot of people get involved, in the chop, it becomes very difficult, but if you can pinpoint some of these key areas, it gives you a much clearer perspective when you zoom out, and you can see here, beautiful sell-off on the day today. A lot of opportunities. Now, understand, those of you who are just taking the swings and are in long on some of these market names, sure, it might not be the best for your portfolio, but when it comes to intraday trading, it has provided the utmost cleanliness when it comes to some of these opportunities here. And USO as well. We were talking about, okay, fine, I want to trade something that's more in play. Maybe I don't want to touch an NVIDIA today. Guess what? USO pulls back into VWAP, buyers in charge. We can break this down a similar way as well. Buyers in charge on the first pullback. Sure, if USO is going to be a little bit choppier, it might be a little bit more difficult as well, but you can see every time it dips into the volume weighted average price, there have been buyers and buyers and buyers every single time, and it's done that more than 5 times in a row today. So sometimes you just got to take a step back, you got to figure out who's in charge here, get with the trend, because the trend is
on the
your
market.
friend.
Until the end when it bends. That's your line.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it was. You coined that one.
I did not. I think it was. I always forget his name. But,
very quickly, so you can probably see, if you're watching USO, you know what's happening. There was this spike reversal that did take us into the high of day. So in a shocking, spoiler alert, everybody, we just made a consolidation higher on energy names, and the market continues to make fresh lows. But for this trade, it pulled back into prior high, which I like, about 18.3, and we got to 18.4 half here. but I want us breaking through. So I'm going to maintain like this wick bottom will end up being the stop, and we'll look to see if we can press higher and then go from there. Like I already missed one dip and rip, and dip and dip and rip. And if we end up holding this trend line, then I can move my stop to whatever the trend line is. But I'm not doing that unless we break out. It has to hold this trend line, break out the top, and then I'd use the trend line as my stop. Otherwise, I use this bar here, wait for the next available dip buy, and just sort of set the trades up in that regard. So that's what I'm watching, but I have to remind everybody, like I also have my eyeballs on this, because what I am doing is if I see something insane, like see this hammer candle here, like I was able to see this already happen and then catch like an ad at the same price on Boyle. Like there's just enough of a lag that you're kind of getting that trade if you're watching USO. And then you should be, like if we break out that high on USO, I would suspect like this along will work out and follow up, and the NASDAQ will probably continue to fall. And then hopefully if this NASDAQ stops falling, for everyone out there that doesn't want the market to keep crumbling, you'll have some kind of reversion trade in some of these energy names. That's certainly going to be part of it as well. So you don't necessarily need to be reacting to every single move. It is tricky when you see things down this far to try to catch shorts at the lows. Oh, what was that in NVIDIA?
A little bit of a pop, yeah. A little dip. Did it actually go down to 173s? No, I have a wick.
Okay,
yeah,
never
I don't
mind.
think it's real.
Okay, sorry, I had a bad wick on one of my. I have my black chart up here, which had a bad wick on it. So when I saw this,
I got the same wick. I was like,
and I kind of freaked out because to me, if that wick was real, it would be a gigantic bottoming tail candle.
Yeah.
And then I'd want to be looking for a long. But it is not real, as you can see here. It's just a crazy deep print. I have more filters. On the charts that we show you guys, I try to have as many filters on as possible, so as few of the weird dark pool prints are going to show up as possible there. But it is actually, maybe we are getting a bit of a move. Like, it's funny I say that. That wasn't necessarily a bad wick, but we just pull back down on our consolidation level in Boyle. Same thing happening over in USO. Maybe the market is trying to catch a bit of a bid here, and there could be an opportunity for us to reverse this move to the long side. But I hesitate to break away from the trend too early, right? Like I'd rather stick with the trend as long as possible there. Vin is asking how the financials are going or handling this move. You know what? I actually have not paid as much attention to the financials. I know I said yesterday that the XLF is semi-broken. You know what's going on with the credit crunch by now, and the bank stocks have been taking some hits. Some are better than others. I'd venture to say like Goldman and Morgan Stanley are doing a lot better. The overall ETF, of course, is going to have some names which are more adversely affected in this particular case, but we're underneath both major moving averages. You just did a death cross on the daily, the 50 crossing the 200 period simple moving average. It hasn't fallen apart yet, but this is a day where they weren't that bad, is the best way to put it. And then eventually it just started falling with everything else. This is the problem, especially on a Friday. This is the problem with this kind of a market move down. Eventually it probably catches everything. Like you had the financials doing okay, but at some point you just keep making fresh lows in the overall market, and lots of other things that were strong during that day turn into risk off as well. But it does bode something. It does make a point here. Because if it was relatively strong before, then maybe it's a better play for a bounce than some of the other names. Like I'm sitting here looking at Intel for a reversion. Look at Intel's chart.
Yeah.
There
is no reversion.
Or you have something which was strong in the morning and had plenty of buy support here and is trying to bounce with the market. Well, if it was relatively strong before, why wouldn't it be relatively strong later?
We've seen SoFi today. That was a great reversion today. SoFi, again, maybe not necessarily.
Can we not talk about SoFi?
In play? Look at that reversion.
Okay, so there's two problems with SoFi.
Yes. Oh, you traded in the morning. Nice.
Well, this is the first problem. Like I wasn't nearly as bullish as I probably needed to be on SoFi today, because at each point when it got to resistance, I was thinking get out and then wait for a reversal. Yeah. Because in my mind, there's that. So if you don't know what's going on in SoFi, muddy waters with a short seller report.
Yes. It
was about 1750 when it flushed, and then if you kind of go here to like 17 and a quarter, this is where it bounced in the afternoon that day. That ended up big support level the following day, and it kind of closed at that price, a top yesterday. So you know, in my brain, I'm going any long trade, forget about it. It's got to be a short at some point going into this level. So I was quick to get out of longs. looking for a reversal spot, and then it didn't really happen here at the level I thought. Watched it go up into this zone, and then completely missed the reversion when it did happen at 1 o'clock. It is what it is. So that's why I'm saying, like, 2 reasons I don't like that. 1, I own shares of SoFi on my personal account, candidly. And 2, I didn't hold the long enough because I was looking for the short, and they just didn't take the short when it got there.
So some of these you gotta keep eyes on, because like you have the right idea, but the timing is always a little bit.
It's like 30 minutes after the level I liked.
Yeah.
You have to sit there and stare it down.
Like, for example, today, like all I wanted to do was short every price in the first 30 minutes on, what was the stock again? Oh yeah, SMCI. I was like, I don't care, I'm shorting everything. Not the best mentality when you have a daily risk limit.
It was the right idea.
I mean, in my opinion, that is the trade. But as an intraday trader, I not only have to understand and take the trade, and when it's doing what I'm looking for, really kind of pound into it, but make sure I'm managing my risk effectively as well, right? So that's something. I mean, I know I like to say that because that's something I'm trying to get better at. Because I'm like, when it's working for me, I better be. Because we talked about this. Sometimes some strategies, they only work 30% of the time. Some things are only right 30 to 50% of the time. What makes the difference over time is that when it's actually working, you are aggressively pushing into it, managing your risk as well at the same time. Otherwise, if your size is the same way for everything, it's not necessarily going to work that well.
Well, right? The easiest example of that is something as extreme as like an IPO.
Yeah.
Like that would be like an IPO that lines up and has every single category you want. Maybe it's in the right sector. It's got the right size. It has the right aspect of increasing. It's obviously you want it oversubscribed as well, and then it's got like an increasing tap. Like all of these things that pile up, the liquidity that you want. So that you just then take more shares in it. And then there's other IPOs where the liquidity isn't there, and there's no hype, and it's too close to the issue price, and it doesn't seem like anyone wants to bid it up, and then you don't take those longs at all.
Maybe you want to flip short.
Well, or you might just think of it in the other way.
Yeah.
But what you also have to consider is that in these markets, volatility creates movement, and that is also creating opportunity, Obi. And Beta Pro by GlobeX offers Canada's first and longest running suite of leveraged and inverse ETFs built for sophisticated investors who understand the risks of leverage and the importance of precision. Its triple leveraged bull and 3x bear ETFs tied to the NASDAQ 100 index are designed for daily tactical trades, providing amplified daily exposure and giving traders tools to engage with both upward momentum and market pullbacks. These strategies are currency hedged, seeking to offset US dollar exposure back to the Canadian loonie. For those navigating short-term market moves, up or down, Beta Pro offers the flexibility to act with conviction, whatever that looks like for your individual strategy, objectives, and risk profile. So trade tactically and learn more at betapro.ca. You can scan the QR code you see out in front of you there. And yes, our $1 coin is called a loonie because we are in. There we go. There was something in the chat just before we were talking. I was talking GlobeX there that I was going to get to, but now it's slipping my memory.
It's all good.
There was something I was going to address, a question that someone had asked me.
I think Eri Pages has a question for me, so I can.
Oh, he does?
I can kind of. Eri Pages saying, Obi, can you share with us your sleep update? Oh boy. You mentioned late last year your goal of getting into 7+ hours of nightly sleep. Give us a brief update. So you know what, I saw that.
That's a lot.
Thank you for the question. No, 7 is a lot, but if I'm going to bed on time, I'm definitely easily getting 7, if not more. Because ideally, I want to go to bed around 10 o'clock, right? 10:30, and then wake up for 6. For 5:30, around 6, and that'll give you your 7 hours, 6.5 to 7 hours. So today, I got 5.5. I got a sleep score of 83. On the weekly, I've averaged maybe 2 days. So Monday was okay. So this is what happened. I had family come over from
recovery for me
from the States. My sister lives in Chicago, so she was over this weekend. And yeah, usually what happens is that we stay up really late. Just watching movies, just playing games like board games and stuff like that, and just chilling. My other sister who lives in Saga, she was over as well. Both my brother-in-laws were over. We were just up to like 4 or 5 a.m. And this is coming into Monday, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm definitely not trading the open on Monday when it comes to that. But anyway, so it says here that I got 1 hour of sleep on Monday, which is untrue. I got more a little bit later. But Tuesday, what was Tuesday? Tuesday I had about 5.9, so 5 hours and 9 minutes. I had 7 hours and 5 minutes on Wednesday, and actually hit my goal of 7 hours and 30 minutes yesterday. Yesterday was a solid trading day as well. Today I had 5.5 because I couldn't get to bed until about 12:30, and I woke up around 6 o'clock. So it's not the best. But I'm kind of managing to get at least a couple days during the week where I am hitting that 7.5 roughly. But on average, I'd say about 6 hours. So yeah, not going so great. But guess what? The year isn't over. We're just about coming into the first quarter here. So I will definitely thank you for reminding me. I totally forgot that that was one of my main goals. I've been maybe focusing a little bit more on some of my specifically trading related goals. And I've talked to you about that last week as well, where it's just like when I get into a trade that's working, pyramiding into it properly and effectively. That's what I mean by really kind of getting aggressive when something's working for you. Like yesterday, for example, I had a trade on Micron, yeah. I think I traded both in the blue ocean and intraday as well. I took reversions both times. Oh my God, wow, look at this. This is absolutely beautiful. So this is, yeah, look at that continuation from yesterday. Selling off in places where it kind of told you where sellers were yesterday as well. But this is the reversion that I took yesterday back into VWAP. Here, and I kind of pointed out, and I was talking to Neil about this as well. I was just like, okay, get short in and around 252s, 252s and some change here, and then covered in and around VWAP. So in terms of decision making, I got involved exactly where I needed to be, right? When the trend broke, when the sellers are kind of show themselves, and then covered exactly where I need to as well, because I was just like, okay, I just want to wait for these sellers to step off, and that was in and around that VWAP area. But you can see here on the way down, it gave you like a perfect stair step down, a perfect opportunity to pyramid into this effectively as it gets to your target. And it gave you the opportunity to trail it as well, never really stopping you out. So that was something that I didn't do too well, but I'm getting to the point where some trades I am doing it well, some trades I'm not. I'm in that kind of a potentially not transformation, transition phase, where it's just like, okay, I'm getting some of them right, I'm getting some of them wrong, and I'm still kind of working towards some of those. But yeah, you're right. Paige is saying, whoa, 6+ hours average nightly sleep is still a great improvement from last year's 4 to 4.5 hours. Very well done. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's getting there. It's a work in progress. Ideally, I would like 6-7 hours roughly.
Why
but,
would you?
It's getting there.
When you were just saying sellers stepping off, like when will the sellers step off?
They're not.
Context. Even just now, I saw someone in the chat just say, NVIDIA just put in a hammer on the 5-minute. Because I think a lot of people are looking for bottom. You're looking for tops in energy, which I don't know, Boyle feels like I'm in this and it's just consolidating for now without the breakout. Like we're getting the dip in the consolidative high, but we're not getting the breakout. So I'm holding for that break. But what's happening here is you get your hammer candle and then it's a trap. Like you get this kind of setup. Like look at NVIDIA, just did this from the low, right? So from the prior low break, there's the trend line. There's a break of the trend line. The attempt, it's gonna have trapped some people into that long, and then it's gonna also set this hammer candle, trapping some people into this long, and we're just continuing to go down. But while what's not happening, the market's continuing to fall, and oddly enough, we have yet to make a fresh high over here in USO. So look, I'm in Boyle. It's also not breaking the high. It's just doing this consolidative thing. Like it's interesting. Like there's not any, until we break out this top, like there's nothing crazy to do over here in energy. And if we can't catch a bid, it's not like the market's giving us much of anything here to work with. So it's kind of a weird one for sure. And Takasu, yeah, the thing, it's so true. Like these things can really move against you. If I'm ever, like for every single trade, and it should always be predictable. Like when I was longing it here, I have a stop order that's in here. When I'm long this, I have a stop order there. When I'm long this, I have a stop order there. When I'm long this, I have a stop order here. Like it's like, so it'll never, like if you're day trading, you're never in a situation outside of for some reason, your execution going down to the point that you can't get out of the trade anyways, where you're not protected. I think you've got to be, because a single headline can move us, no questions asked. There was a super chat that I don't think we addressed, so I'll try to fire it up here from Joy Blessed. There it is. Hey Neil, getting into some IWM puts power hour. What is your take? Well, power hour started 15 minutes ago.
Yes.
There isn't a short in the market that in the last 15 minutes hasn't worked because the trend is your friend. So if you know what I actually like, what's interesting is when you're shorting the bottom, at least this gave you something of a reasonable scalp to trade. But again, you are shorting at the lows. There's like we never really know what are you doing here. You swinging, you scalping, because day traders often will just be in like really short-term scalp. So I don't know what your plan of action is with this, but you did get like a consolidative level here at 3 o'clock to kind of show you, well, the sellers were stacking up here on the IWM as it continued to go lower. And then another factor, if we're thinking longer term on the IWM, I don't know what your plan of action was. Have a look at what's going on with rates. On Wednesday, we were expecting, this is a Fed tool. There you go, Fed Watch. So this is the Fed rate tool. On Wednesday, we were at a 6% chance that they would raise in the April meeting, right? It was only down to 6%. It's now a 12% chance. It's still basically non-zero. We're not getting a cut at this point. And obviously, if you were to raise rates, that's the kind of thing that would not be good for smaller companies, whose cost of borrowing and cost of doing business go up. And they're a little bit more sensitive to that. So in a general sense, the market sentiment is with you here. Obviously, we're going to be pretty headline driven here, especially over a weekend. But it's hard not to agree with that particular sentiment. Then you throw up the fact that the IWM is, looky, we are at the 200 period moving average on the daily. This is the kind of level that when broken, Article 1, that's NVIDIA breaking it today, yikes. Article 2, this is Tesla breaking a consolidation off the 200 period moving average as well, and look at the continuation it's gotten. Now you see the IWM also threatening it. So yeah, you've got a little bit of pressure going on in the IWM. But I don't know that you're day trading it, you scalping, you taking some kind of a longer term swing. So we can just look at the charts and give our analysis and thoughts. That's why I kind of went over and looked at the rate tool, because I think that's going to be important. It's important in a general sense, but it's certainly important to the Russell for sure. The early look is still pretty ridiculous. New entry. So RITM is still here for like 4 million, whatever that is. BMNR is 8 million shares to the buy side. Maybe Tom Lee wants to add more shares. I have no idea there. And not really seeing anything else too crazy. I'm just looking for names that maybe people would be interested in. No, Visa buy 6.7. We saw Disney before. Oracle, 6 million shares to buy. UPS, 6 million shares to sell. Kind of makes some sense on a day where FedEx crushed it. UPS with a big sell imbalance. UNH with a sell of 6 million shares. There's going to be a lot of kind of insane numbers with only about 33 minutes to go till the imbalances come out. Archer with a 4.5 million, imbalance to the buy side. Like, these are some really big ones. One of the easiest things to do, and I don't know if anybody that's at real trading or if you have access to the imbalance locator, on a daunting day like today, it's good to sort of make up a list of the ones that you like and then create a separate, which I do, I create a separate imbalance locator of just the symbols that I'm now following at like 350. So that I can kind of watch the ones I'm paying closer attention to. Because if you just wanted to watch everything over a couple of million shares, see how impossible that's going to be. And I'm going to throw back to Obi. But I have to, what is this RIT? I don't know Rhythm Capital. Not familiar with this stock, but it's a 40 million buy imbalance, and the stock has done 18 million shares, and it's literally at the low of the day. So that automatically is going over on one of my charts. Like, you're going to tell me you're down 6%, with an imbalance that's twice the daily volume, and it's a buy imbalance, and you're at the low. I might start taking some pot shots at this closer to 330. And when I say pot shots, just want to be long off the low, even if it just gets back to the high. If you can find a trade risking the low, the high is 15 pennies from here, and the low is basically 5. That's a good R to R, but we'll see. Any of these change in real time. That 40 million that I'm looking at right here, that could drop to 20 million. That's why I'm going to throw it up on a list and make sure that I don't miss that if I decide to trade it.
Yeah, I just got a interesting. I follow a few different sources on X. I got an interesting kind of post here that basically told me that you're familiar with the Fear and Greed Index.
Yes.
Apparently, as of right now, it's at extreme fear. So I kind of looked it up. I was like, all right, what is it? For those of you who don't know the specific definition, I kind of looked it up here. Is a market sentiment tool most famously created by CNN Business. Okay, interesting. That measures investor emotions on a scale from 0 to 100. It tracks whether the stock market is driven by extreme fear, 0 to 49, suggesting underpriced stocks, or extreme greed, 51 to 100, suggesting overvalued, with 50 being neutral. So guess what? I went on the CNN website right here, and as of right now, we are kind of experiencing apparently some extreme fear. Just to make sure it's correct, I went on another website right here. Give me some website called Fear and Greed Meter. Similar kind of reading there. So extreme fear, Neil, as things apparently are very undervalued here as of right now. But kind of makes sense. We're talking about things breaking their 200 period moving averages, coming into potentially areas of value. Would you say? Perhaps,
that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. Market's definitely at a discount. I'll tell you that.
Just because we're dropping doesn't mean everything's going into value.
VIX is probably 30 something. Yeah, no, for sure. No, VIX is 28 right now, so I did want to keep an eye on the VIX. You can see what it's been doing over the past couple of days. We did get that spike all the way up to 35s coming in last Monday, and I was like, oh boy, we're starting to get moving once again here on the VIX as it starts to wind up and volatility increases. Now, if there's one thing, and I've said this before, that loves to revert and probably reverts with some of the highest probability is volatility itself. And you can see here on the extreme pushes of volatility, the reversions are almost always pretty solid there. You can see here, strong push up into 35, gets pulled all the way back down to 20s pretty much within a couple of days. Then we start to kind of, chop it up above 20. So I have been watching this pretty closely. I'm waiting for this to potentially get into this $30 level and sustain if we're going to continue this kind of selling. We talked about some of the larger caps as well over the past couple of months. That double top on Microsoft, that's coming in quite nicely. If you remember that one on the weekly, I mentioned it a few times, and I'm like, okay, well, this is not necessarily something Softy has done in a while. You can see here, clear, very, very clear. This is a weekly chart. Rejection of price. Whether you want to call it double top, I know some people like to call it devil's horns or cat ears or whatever you want to call it. Rejection of price. That's the sentiment that's being shown here.
Devil's horn?
Yeah, because double top.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, that's becoming bearish. Maybe maybe we're going to hell, but maybe we're just coming back into some prior support levels as well. But since then, we've had pretty much a straight beeline back down to where buyers stepped up in March, April of last year, that presidential bid that I was talking about. So a beautiful kind of symmetrical action. And some of the best reversions, Neil, are absolutely symmetrical. And you had an aggressive bid from April, price rejection in July, another retest and a rejection in October of last year. And we're getting almost a symmetrical leg back down into what was some potential support from last year. So, when I look at Softy's chart, I'm like, this is absolutely beautiful. Talk about a picture perfect swing short, or just, getting involved with some of this move here on this name has been absolutely beautiful on Microsoft. Now, other names not as clean, not as clear, but the other names don't really have this kind of a pattern, this double top pattern here. But yeah, extreme fears maybe, perhaps. I don't know what your opinion on that is. Are you looking to, whenever the VIX gets up to 30, I'm always like, yeah, it's probably a good time to kind of look at some of these stocks that I think are undervalued.
I feel like it piques the interest when it gets to 30, and then once we're breaking 30, it is I need to be buying something. Like that's
when my DCA turns on.
Yeah, like it's just like, okay, well, whatever the list is, even if it's not at the price that I like, it's like, okay, well, I need to nibble. I remember when I was at spring training last year, and that was exactly how I felt because I ended, it was in March, right? So we had one of those ridiculous down days when I'm literally on my phone when like NVIDIA is down like 8% and market's getting crushed. I'm like, I'm trying to buy stuff in the fourth inning. It was wild. Danny Boy's Danny Boy's bear market bingo. Thank you for the super chat. You put a stink bid on UVIX. 3% under the current price, just waiting for that sneaky liquidity grab that we know will happen soon. You know what? I love the whole stink bid thing. I think sometimes, like when you like the structure of something, where like you sort of feel, okay, like we're trending up here, and I just want to be in this sucker. So you throw something in just in case you get that liquidity grab, so that you get yourself a good price. And if you're sort of doing that the entire time and something is trending up, you get yourself a little bit of a shot. I mean, so you're looking for something right back in the 8-7 range. And look at us trending higher as the market just continues to go down. And DJ Reese, that's right, you DCA, you can never guess the right price to dip by. The perfect example of that would be, here, I can literally show you on NVIDIA last year. Oops, that's not the daily chart. So in like last year, you'll never be exactly perfect, but we're in the downtrend. The bottom ended up in April, but there was a day here I don't remember which day it was in March, but whatever. I was in Florida in March, and there was one of these really bad days where I knew I had a list of stuff that I wanted to get, and I was just like, okay, let's pick a couple up. The only thing I got one of the things I got at the bottom was ARM, but I know in this, like in here, it was NVIDIA and it was NVIDIA, Meta, and something else. I'm forgetting. Oh my goodness, and we just continue to go lower. So I scalped out, and remember what's going on. I saw this happening in USO, and I was about to flip. Like I was so close to flipping actually, because we had that pullback here in USO. Like USO went 123, so almost a full percentage pullback in USO here, and then looked like that would be enough, so I trailed out, and now we're bouncing again. And the market makes another fresh bottom. You just can't seem to go anywhere. Even when you look for the reversion, it's not really there. But we're still in a very, very tight range. Like inside a 1% there. As I said, in the last hour, Boyle's probably also got a 1% range on it here, like 18, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, like 28 to, a little bit more. It's infinitesimally more, like maybe like a 1.25 point range and a 1% range up top there on USO. So neither one is doing what it was doing earlier. Like before, like there was like a 2.5–3% move in 5 minutes. And I don't know that we're going to be able to see that again. That Rhythm, what is it, Rhythm Capital, that was that 40 million buy-in balance. So it stayed, and so grabbed some shares into here. Just going to look to play that one into the high. It just so happened to be the biggest imbalance and a significant amount of volume. That's all. So the closer we get to 350, the more likely I'm going to want to make sure this isn't pairing off. I threw it up on a list, and that's what I want to see. What else do we have here? R88, what is that? R88193 in the chat. Why is AMD strong today? All right, because I have my black chart up here. Why is AMD strong today? Nuh-uh. I mean, it's not, but it was strong yesterday. Not very strong today, but not many things are going to be strong. So it's just doing what the market is doing. And again, maybe that looks like a relatively strong chart to you. It doesn't really look like that to me. AMD looks like NVIDIA. AMD looks like Intel right now. AMD, at least it's not SMCI. So yeah, no. If your point of comparison is AMD and SMCI, then yes, AMD is relatively strong today. Maybe that, you know what, that could have been some kind of a troll that went over my head.
On what? On SMCI or?
No, like why is AMD strong today was a question.
Oh yeah, no.
Or maybe I just read that wrong. Did I read it wrong in the chat? Yeah, why AMD is strong.
Yeah,
that was the actual. I didn't read it wrong. That was the actual question in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe
charts upside down or something.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're looking at the right chart when you're looking at things. Make sure your screen is right side up.
I think I was being trolled.
As well,
I think
perhaps that's
fair.
That's definitely that definitely could be the
case.
We're
fair game. We read the chat. You can probably get us to.
I pulled up the leaderboard to see how everyone's doing here on our picks. I see that Fabian's changed the layout. This looks kind of very. I don't know, very futuristic here. But yeah, a lot of chop here. Again, I'm getting rocked on that circle, but I already mentioned that circle should have been covered way long ago. That earnings was a definite episodic pivot where, you know, it changed the whole sentiment around the stock.
Hold on, nobody has a worse situation than me, because like we did our picks for what Obi's talking about. We did our picks for the year.
Yes.
Now some of us made our picks actually in December, and then we didn't do the show until the middle of January. Now, of course, one of my picks, which I literally bought in my personal account at the end of the year at $247, went all the way to $400, and is now getting absolutely destroyed. So we do our.
Did you take anything off?
Yeah, with my real account, of course I did. Am I a bloody idiot?
Like, what kind of a? Yeah, that's a solid move.
Okay, I almost said something else, but you know, we're on live. No, but like I'd have to be a blithering idiot in my own TFSA to have not covered something and taken profits, and then eventually stopped out of it after this earnings flush. But I don't get the benefit of that move in the conversation. So I'm gonna have the worst performing stock that actually, like, it literally gave a 60% move, and it'll still be like the worst stock on the board, which is hilarious. No, but but it's actually a very good point. It does go to show, like, stock picking competitions are all well and good, but it's kind of meaningless in the sense that when you actually have a position and real money is at stake, you have to manage that money.
Oh, of course.
And so therefore, you know, whether it's broken a trend here and you're getting out, or I see it stall in here at resistance and you take some off, whatever it might be, or eventually when the rest breaks that support level, you get out, you're doing something. You're not doing nothing with a swing trade.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And if you're doing nothing with a swing trade, then it better be like this perpetual up move that magically doesn't go down. So it's just one of those.
Yeah, it's got to be in trend. It's got to do what you're looking for, and then you definitely have to have a stop. You have to have a timer on it, and yeah, you definitely have to manage it accordingly, right? And we're just kind of doing this for fun. I was looking at some of my positions. Yeah, circle short. I placed the same trades on paper here just to kind of keep track on my trading view. So I was looking at this BW was going absolutely crazy here. Again, just happened to be an oil related or an energy related name here, but absolutely solid. It's been holding trend. But yeah, no, that circle you can see here, circle. Absolute change of chart, right? When I was mentioning some of these, I was like, yeah, I like the chart. That's the only reason why I want to get in. No real kind of fundamental reason at all. The chart, in my opinion, speaks literally volumes, and you don't need much else there as well. So you can see here, we kind of talked about it coming into January, and I placed a again, a paper order just to keep track of that position. You can see it was doing exactly what I was looking for. It broke that structure. It went into trend and trended all the way down to almost $50. 47.81 is the low. Didn't really quite stay there for long enough, but you can see here going into earnings, kind of a sideways consolidation. So if I'm not taking it off right here when it's like, okay, earnings report absolutely solid, and you can see here 161% above expected in terms of EPS, you have a bit of a situational change, right? We're talking about it's pretty much an episodic pivot. Beaten down, you have a situational change. Price action gets, it rips up like crazy, pulls back, holds, and we've been in this trend since then. So yeah, circle, definitely a lot of reasons to buy on that push up off of earnings there. Sidhu, again, this one I was just like, okay, well, just wanted to bring awareness, because I know Sidhu was very popular when we were talking about it, and it did have a strong move, right? We went all the way to $5.80, but what was the purpose of me taking this pick? I said this is purely only for educational purposes to kind of show the people what happens to some of these stocks weeks down the line, months down the line, what really goes on. The hype is over. So, I have a few friends, and I kind of used to have the same mindset where I'm just like, okay, well, this thing is going crazy, so now I'm just going to hold this in my long term forever. and this is going to continue to go up past $5 a key area. You know, you give yourself so many different excuses. You build yourself a story. You get tied up in the fundamentals. You start believing everything that you hear on the stock, but the price action is not really kind of confirming any of that, right? This name, you can see what's been happening. Kind of got crushed and kind of just consolidating sideways. Now things can change. It can get a second leg as well, but you can see off of the hype, off of the somewhat of a parabolic move on Sidu, it's kind of settled down and not really doing too much. If we look at relative volume, we're doing less than, wow, look at this. Today we're doing 1 times relative volume, but earlier on this week, 0.3, 0.6, so not even doing average volume on some of these days, not really catching any sort of a leg. Now let's go to the third one here on BW. Now this one continues to work, and it started to work pretty much almost right away, pulls back, never really gets back below some of these entry prices and trends higher. And we talk about another contestant for an episodic pivot where you have volume ejection with earnings, you have a strong move. Sure, it didn't do 100% above expected EPS, but again, you have the sentiment that's potentially pushing this forward as well. You have the oil and energy move that's working as well, so it's still within trend. No real reason to kind of manage this in any sort of way, kind of let it kind of pan out. So yeah, that was my whole thing where I was just like, maybe I just wanted to prove a point where I was just like, okay, you don't necessarily need to understand and know any of the fundamentals if you want to make, if I'm looking at a chart, especially longer term. And it's funny, I'm reading this book called How I Made $2 Million in the Stock Market by Nicholas Darvis. It's an older book, and he talks about his journey in. Sorry?
I hate that title.
Yeah, it's a long title, yes. But he talks about his journey in the stock market and how he came about his final kind of conclusion of how he wants to participate with stocks. And basically, his thing was getting with trend, right? Yeah. And the chart and the volume is going to tell you everything. Right, it can have strong fundamentals, but if the sentiment and the positioning isn't there, you're not going to get the move that you're looking for.
You know what?
It's all anticipation.
If I was going to say like my experience over 20 years, that the number one thing, if there's like the number one thing that I learned in trading, if for the traders that have been successful and the traders that have any kind of longer term success, outside of the whole normal discipline stuff that we usually talk about, it would be this. There is no one way to make money. And if you are wrapped up in the notion that I am only going to trade big cap stocks, I am only going to trade gappers and runners, I am only going to trade the futures, the Bollinger Bands are the only way to go. If you have that kind of a narrow focus, good luck. I've never really seen any. It's like you don't know what you will, like what patterns you see is not what someone else is going to see. Whatever the heck works for you, whatever works for you that you can find that makes you money, do that. And you should not give a darn what anybody else thinks about it. If somebody doesn't think penny stock trading is real trading, who cares? Check clears the same way. I'll never forget this. My first, because I had to set up a US dollar account when I first started trading. Because back then, like now we get paid in CAD, but back then if you traded the US markets at the prop firm, you actually got paid in US dollars. Nice. So I remember I went into the bank and it's like, I don't remember the reason why I was actually speaking to the manager, but anyways, like I had this check from the prop trade. Maybe it's because it was this check from the prop trading company in U.S. dollars, and for whatever reason, it wasn't like I don't know why it wasn't an easy transaction. But I end up in this in the office of the bank manager, to get this settled, and we ended up chatting and. She's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a trader. And she's like, oh, what do you trade? I was dead ass honest about it. I'm like, well, I day trade penny stocks.
Yeah. No.
And she like laughed, and then, but it's like you're holding the check and you come on, man. Like what? Like okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, obviously it's good enough that I'm sitting here with you, and it's not that easy for you to clear this, but it did, and so it doesn't really matter. And then you move on to something else, and you open yourself up to other ideas. Because
you have to stay adaptable because things will change, right?
Well, here's a fundamental thing. Here, I'll get to this fundamental thing for a second. Like, look at Tesla right now. Okay, so Tesla 374 down to 365. It's moved $10 from the volume weighted average price. Now, you could be a VWAP to here trade, and you could say I'm risking $2 on this stock. I'm risking 0.5% on Tesla to try to make a bunch to the low, which could be 70. So that's 1.5 points there, or that's not even 1% because it's like $3 or so. Whatever, like that math can be eerily similar. Like, I'll be straight up. Like, if you're a day trader at Real Trading, that move based on liquidity, and it's not like, how's it any different from literally risking 2 cents to make 25?
Yeah.
I think it's not really. It's just whatever works for you. It doesn't really matter. Like, some people are gonna be like, I like the Tesla. That's great. Do that. Do whatever works for you. Now, this is getting pretty nasty overall in the market.
Look at the puke.
I know. USO is like
crazy. USO is not really moving.
No, that's sort of the thing. So, yeah, it's frustrating because I was more looking for the continuation in the oil names upside as opposed to the futures down. But it was the right decision to jump out of the oil trade. You're seeing NVIDIA also flush. We now have 10 minutes till the imbalances come out, and look at NVIDIA continue to go down. But I just like this. To me, like, I'm one of those. I like the high. If I can find a high percentage trade, I don't give a rat's. You know what? Like, you want to tell me that I can risk to the low of the day on a stock when the market's doing death and the largest imbalance notionally is a buy on a stock which is at the low, and also the daily chart looks like it's just a dump fest. So you're getting a capitulation bottom, massive buy imbalance, and risk to the low into the imbalance trade. That's just good R to me. So you make that trade. If you can't, because finding a way into NVIDIA here is not the easiest. Like, if you're like an NVIDIA short, you can just try to short every single level. The problem is I've seen the other side of that when you short the bottom and it goes against you. That's a very, very tricky trade. Now, if you got it from VWAP, congratulations. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to be up in the market, and at the end of the day, if you're able to make money doing it, just don't care what anybody else thinks, man.
No, I like what you said there, and I kind of mentioned earlier as well. Like, when it comes to me, I'm just like, it doesn't really matter what I'm trading as long as it's in play and it's been kind of working. And I'm like, yeah, you can remove everything from the price axis. It does not matter, because I am a true and strong believer that price action is king. And whether that be on a penny stock, whether that be on a $500 to $1,000 stock, or it's on something like an NVIDIA, or maybe mid to small cap, it does not matter. At the end of the day, a breakout is a breakout, a breakdown is a breakdown, volume is volume, relative volume is relative volume as well. And I like to work with certain indicators that kind of remove all of that from the picture. That's why I like relative volume. That's why I like ATR-based kind of calculations, where it's just like, okay, what does it normally do? And is it doing anything that's distinctly different, regardless of what the pricing is, regardless of what the average volume is? Is it doing more than average? And again, obviously we can talk about like liquidity as well. That's probably going to play a factor to a lot of people at the same time. But yeah, no, I think those are solid points there. We're coming into about 9 more minutes, Neil, 9 more minutes, and the market is puking. Bless you. Into these imbalances, and oh boy, SMCI, man, I got to do so much better. I got clocked kind of shorting that in the morning, and that was not pretty at all. But if I was a little bit more patient and I got involved at the right places, that shorting that first 30 minutes of price action was definitely the way to get involved with SMCI today, and it's back all the way down to $20.50 now. Again, catalyst driven as well. But again, today, maybe you don't need a lot of catalyst there. There goes my alarm reminding me that, hey, watch out. Imbalances soon. Lock in, because there could be opportunity. And I think I'll be looking at some of these, both New York and NASDAQ imbalances. So let's take a quick look at how those are sitting as of right now. Still kind of similar here, RITM. So let's click on this. That should, we don't want to do that. So as I click on these, this should populate the chart here. How Ford is on there, anything interesting, BMY.
For the record, RITM is one of the expected buy imbalances.
Buy imbalances, okay, wow. It's already paired about 13 million, 35 mil on the thing. But you can see, look at what it did off the open. If someone's trying to front run this thing off of the open, they got absolutely rocked.
No, you have to wait until the end.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, market on open, you get rocked from $9 to $8.50. That's crazy. right? It's how far down is it?
Look at the daily chart,
down.
you'll get an understanding of why you would want to wait till the actual imbalances at the end of the day. Like it's got the nasty. I was just showing it. She was just showing it before.
Yeah.
It's one of the nastiest daily charts.
Wow, look at that.
So therefore, why would you'd want to wait?
You don't want to long this at all.
But what we're expecting in 7 minutes, just to give you a small sample, you've got, what do we have? 13. Yikes. Okay, so Vertiv is the number one. They're getting added to the S&P. Apple would be the largest sell. Coherent, a large buy. You've got Light, a large buy. Hey, they're a good name in the chip space. Amazon expected to be a pretty decent sized buy. Intel buy. JP Morgan and XOM. These are expectations. It does not mean they come out. I just want to get this out of the way. It does not mean they come out with imbalances in this direction.
Right.
However, if they do come out with imbalances in the direction that we're expecting, then you would care. So that rhythm is supposed to be a big buy, and it is showing up. That's the reason. For something like that, I just realized I'd pulled away from it because Battle was doing things. That's why when it breaks this little downward trend, like it fakes the low and breaks the high, breaks the consolidation, you just look for the retracement long. Now, this stock is a heaping pile of dung, so I would suspect that at some point the seller's going to be like, hey, that buy imbalance is just an excuse to be able to get some liquidity to dump more shares. That's my take. So I feel like you cover into the 350 and not hope that it just comes out in your favor and fills the gap. Again, I like the high percentage type of trade. So with 5 minutes to go till the imbalances come in, I think, look, NVIDIA is making a bit of a turn, so it looks like the fact that oil didn't go any lower, it could be a good thing. And in 5 minutes, so the problem with the NASDAQ names, if this was a New York stock, if any of the Mag 7 were New York and had even small buy imbalances, then I'd be like, yeah, you take the long. But you don't get to see the imbalances on NASDAQ stocks until
much later.
Until 350. So you won't even see NVIDIA or Apple or any of these. If they show up on the list, they show up at 350. If any of those big cap type names were on here for buys, then yeah, you get a turn candle like that, and you try to take the long. Like instead, on an imbalance day, I'm going to play the one that we can see. So yeah, 5 minutes to go there. You just caught me off guard because I didn't see the NCAA tournament.
Nice, yeah. No, I think one of our buddies is kind of watching us. So I was like, oh, what's going on over here? But yeah, no, USO with a little bit of selling coming in here, 122s. I have both my imbalances up. We'll wait and see what the market has in store. If you guys are watching any specific names going into the end of the day today, throw them up into the chat, and we'll take a look at those as well. That VRT that you mentioned, I thought that was pretty interesting as well. I pulled that one up, and you said that one's a buy on the sheet, or it's a buy on the sheet, and you can look at the volume that's been increasing on this. Absolutely solid. Like as it bids lower, look at the absolute clean trend right here of that volume pulling in as it trades lower. So interesting stuff. We'll see if it actually shows up as expected. Or are there other games being played here? That's where I'm gonna kind of call.
Always
that.
Other games.
Oh, there's the game within the game. That's you gotta go deeper sometimes. Like what do they call it is it Inception?
Yeah.
Right. That's
you go another level. You go another level deeper.
Yeah.
I see you, Kaderm, in the chat. We don't need to. You don't have to spam. Battle is.
Battle. Is that happening?
Yeah. So like, why is Battle going? It's weird. Usually, BATL is an small cap energy company, Battalion Oil, that tends to squeeze when we have oil prices going up. Maybe this would be a case of no one wants to hold overnight kind of deal, because it's not like we're not going back up here. What are actual oil futures doing? Here, bear with me. It's not the J contract. What are we on, K now? I think it's the K contract. And there's nothing really happening. The USO wasn't doing anything. We're pulling back in oil prices. So I guess Battle's doing its own thing, which makes sense. This is a pure squeeze play. If things get crazy out of hand over the weekend, you come on Monday, this is one of those stocks that's worth looking at, because it goes parabolically. It overextends because you have a high short float, and then energy names can go squeezing. This one has a shot possibly next week, but you need something crazy to happen over the weekend potentially to be able to break this one out. I personally, I don't like the fact that it's doing this without anything else in the energy space going up. That's a bit of that's a red flag for me, because then when that stock comes back in, you've seen the chart, it gets pretty nasty pretty quick. So 2 minutes to go. Again, I'm just looking at this rhythm because it would happen to be the biggest imbalance out there. Someone in the chat had asked me about Pepsi, the imbalance on Pepsi. That's a NASDAQ stock, so you're not seeing anything on Pepsi until 350. Again, if it's .NQ, then there's no early look. There's no advantage to be gained, and that is the majority of the market. Ooh, rhythm just paired off a bit.
Patiently waiting.
That rule means take some off, because I just saw it go. If it goes down, like it just went from 40 to 33, the purpose of imbalances is to get paired off. That's why they exist. They exist to publicly disseminate what is out there so people can come into the other side. And it's an important thing to keep in mind. The entire function of this, of the closing imbalance in the auction, is to decrease the actual volatility on the closing print. So oftentimes, like when you see these imbalances, like, to expect them to hold to the close is not how you should be framing it. Is to take advantage of a move and try to be, I like to try to be out before. PAAS, that's Pan American Silver with a big sell. So early look sell on Pan American Silver. So we know that metals are going to be in play. I'm going to put that one up on another chart here. And so that could be worth watching. Pretty significant, because Pan American Silver's done 7 million shares of volume on the entire session. And right now, the closing imbalance is 7 million. The paired volume is 6 million. That means the auction has 13 million of interest in this auction, and it's done 7 million today. So it could potentially triple its volume at the close. That's just an example. So about 15 seconds, and then we'll get a little bit of fireworks actions for you guys and see what happens. You can never really predict how it's going to go.
Yeah, for sure. Again, got to keep a close eye on anything that's happening. Good luck to anybody who is taking this trade going into the close. Hopefully it comes out as expected right there. So Lyft coming in here at the highest level. Cisco as well. Let's see what these things are doing. Wow, look at that Lyft getting absolutely lifted to the upside right there. 1320s, the 1350. So yeah, look at this move. It's only been about 20 seconds since it came out. So best believe a lot of the first participants getting into this, straight up algos. No one's sitting there, finger on the trigger being like, oh, Lyft's the first one. I'm getting along there. NFE with the sell. Okay, that's a 77 cent stock right there, but it was about 81 pennies a few seconds ago. Let's see, I gotta take this off right here. Don't need, I gotta filter some of that right there. The BRKR, we don't need the broker number anymore. Let's see what we've got going on here. HPQ, Hewitt Packard. Let's see what this one is up to with a buy. Okay, nothing too crazy. GTM is going. That's the second highest one that I have here on the chart in terms of size. Now, again, some people like to kind of parse it out as dollar volume or dollar size as well, so don't have that filter up as of right now. But yeah, let me know what you guys are watching. Is anything going crazy on your charts here? We can continue to take a look at some
Cisco's
of these things.
pretty big.
Cisco sell, that's coming in quite nicely as well. Let's see if that holds right here, down from 77.5, 77.60s down to 77 flats. They're on Cisco. Walmart with a sell imbalance there. Let's see how much this is. But the thing is, this is done 124. Wow, look at this one, Neil. Walmart coming in 119.80s, slamming down $1 into 118.80s right there on a 5 million sell imbalance. So absolutely crazy. So this is what we were talking about earlier on when we were like, okay, certain things can get a little bit crazy going into these last final minutes here. Google, Oracle, saying some people. Let's take a quick look at some of those here.
I didn't see Oracle.
Yeah, I don't see Oracle anywhere on the top of the list, but we can see Google, okay, with a strong bid back through 300, so that's looking nice right there. On the left side of my screen, we'll take a look at Oracle real quick here as well. Trades on the NYSE. Oracle not as strong there on the bid.
SMCI's got I just saw it flash by on SMCI, so that could be a little bit interesting. I saw it flash at about 4 million, but it's not doing anything. It's still heading to the downside there, so it's not even moving. So there's really nothing that stood out. The one I was watching the most, it ends up coming out smaller than expected, so I punched out, which to me makes sense. Like the whole idea is that, like I said, you probably pairs off, so you play it long into the high of the day as opposed to anything else, and then after that, you just let it go. Yeah, maybe it's Lyft. So, Lyft is 23 million to the buy side. I wish it wasn't Lyft because we were expecting a buy here, but Lyft is not the best stock in the world. But we'll see what happens. You could easily see this one potentially stay. 15 million volume on the day. It's got a 23 million imbalance to the buy side there. What's Tesla doing? Did you see Tesla? Or I didn't see any of
Tesla's
the mag.
Google's the only one that's really kind of
I didn't see NVIDIA significant. I didn't see Apple significant. I didn't see Microsoft. I couldn't find Tesla either. So disappointing if those are what you were looking at.
Yeah, no, definitely not the Mag 7s really being pushed around. And you said on the sheet Apple was one of the bigger ones there.
Yeah,
you got to remember.
We're expecting Apple.
The average volume that some of this stuff does, like that kind of imbalance will just get eaten up right away. So I think some of the better opportunities may lie in the smaller to mid caps on the day. You can see again, Lyft holding it as of right now, but we'll see going into the pairing event, which happens around 55, 56. We'll see if anything changes, if there's a distinct difference in anything right there. Does it stay? Does it get paired off? Jero with the super chat, thank you very much. Hi, Obi, can you recommend lightsaber company shares to buy? What do you mean? Lightsaber, is that an actual, are you making a pun on lightsabers? Because I don't know what you'd go along there. But if lightsaber is a stock, I have not heard about it.
If lightsaber was a stock, I'd already own.
You would have known. Yeah, no, there is no stock called lightsaber. The only thing I'm going long is the Force. So that's usually my thing.
The Force is strong with this one, that's for sure.
Both the dark and the light side. So.
It is. So remember, it's 3:55 right now, so that's usually the time when you will see a lot of these imbalances pair off. So if you're in something, a lot of times you'll see a big spike or a change. Ford 16 million to sell, so a lot of these have started to pair off there significantly. What is EXK? Do not even know that name. So a lot of these really. You can start to see like all the bigger numbers of the broker, and that was from 330, and all the stuff from after is now a lot smaller. DVLT, which is that penny stock, is remaining a bit of a sell imbalance there. Oh my goodness. The NASDAQ, nice bounce. And this is sort of the thing about, it's like whatever you're doing, some things can quickly change. Like we were cruising to the downside. I think at least some of the credit for the bounce here is going to be when you have like this, like the window dressing of the bounces at the end of the day. So, here you go. We're getting a decent bounce over in the NASDAQ. That's going to be a good sign, but it's not as if we're being real about it, like what would we have to do to make you feel better? Late money is better and more important money. And really the fact that all we did is sell off, it's a risk off for a lot of these names. Meta, I guess Meta stands out a little bit here. And so someone just typed Meta in the chat, pulled it up. It's doing a little bit better, getting back to where it was. It's actually going to be able to hold on to some of the morning lows. Maybe that gets you excited. I still feel like this has been such a nasty day. Going to pull up USO in that energy trade. Ends up dipping. So there was no follow through. It finally does that little bit of a dip. I think it was at least a good idea to stop playing the long trade in the energy names this afternoon. No real push through the highs. Like there was the long into the high. There was really no opportunity. Like you get the initial breakout, and there was just nothing doing after the fact. I don't think. Only Fang is asking about Broadcom. What's AVGO doing? Oh, that's not good. Yuck, yuck, and yuck. The market just at least attempted to bounce. Breaking the low is not a good look here for Broadcom. That's literally the last thing that you wanted to have seen. So as the market catches the bid, Broadcom flushing. But there was nothing, I don't know for you, but there was nothing that actually set up outside of the one that was prior to the imbalances for this close. So that's fair enough.
There's a few that I'm watching. I'm watching the Rhythm, RITM. I'm watching Walmart. Walmart looks absolutely solid there on that. I mean, a lot of it got paired off, but it's holding price. That got slapped $1 on something like a Walmart, where the volume on the day already is pretty significant, and getting slapped down $1 on something like this of a large cap, I think is pretty significant. But I'll continue watching it, see if it does anything interesting. That lift, not really as lifted as it was before. I think the edge was definitely getting in real quick there. And again, when we talk about algorithmic trading, a lot of the edge is kind of dissipated for manual traders because you're not reacting that fast, right? I'm sure if I go on to a second chart, a few second chart, a lot of the move just happens in the first few seconds of this move because they're the ones getting the information first, kind of getting into the
Speak for yourself, Obi. Old man hands around here.
Boom, 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 boom.
It's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, no. Some of the
slower than I used to be.
You know what's funny? Some of the best trades, even like there's going to be so much imbalance that you can get in later, and there's still so much like edge or room left around. It doesn't really matter.
You want it to not matter.
Yeah, ideally you want it to not matter. Maybe you want some entries. Like again, look at Walmart right here. If you have an algo that picks this thing up, maybe you're getting it. Sure, maybe you're not getting in 80s or 70s or 60s. You probably need to be sitting in New Jersey to be getting any of those fills. But say you're sitting anywhere else, maybe you're getting 19 threes. Maybe you're getting 19 halves. Maybe you're even getting 19 ones or 119s. That still gives you about $0.50 to almost a full dollar on the wick low right there on something like a Walmart. So, you know, absolutely solid. There goes RITM. So I think that might actually be the one here.
Did it continue?
It's continuing as of right now. I don't know where last you saw it, but
no, it was at 7. It was no, I last looked at it at 67. So that is going to continue. It's going to go all the way.
About those 6.
That's the thing. Like sometimes like those big ones don't pair off, and it didn't pair off. But remember, this showed up. This was at $8.50 when we first showed it as the biggest imbalance at 3 o'clock. And this was at 312, and it played off of the low at that point. And whether you scalped it out or you could literally have just held this into the auction to have made a couple of percentage points there. So it just goes to show. That's why we try to show these out here. And it's a more of an overwhelming. Oftentimes what will happen is on a normal day, you'll have like 1 or 2 that are big, so everybody's eyeballs on the same one. That can make an imbalanced day more interesting because there's too many for everyone to look at. So there's so much out there, there's opportunity. This is our last closing bell of the week on a good witching day. So let's ring the fake bell in 2 and 1.
Look at that.
And look, I did see, I absolutely saw in the chat when someone was like, hey guys, what's going on with you guys in ringing the actual bell? It's a logistical thing why we're still not using the actual bell. You know, there is a physical one now. It's just we're not using it at the current moment. Is what it is. But I want to thank Obi. Thank you for filling in for Sean and for all of you. If you're tuning in, you sort of missed it. Sean's daughter had a tournament, so they're in Scarborough playing some hockey. So, you know, wish Gia the best of luck for sure. Want to give a big shout out to, usually I'd say like Joe and Sharif wouldn't be here and Joe would be here, but it's like the opposite. Sharif is to my left. He's still working on some things, so thank you, Sharif and Joe, for the midday.
Thank you.
Big shout out as always to Sia. Sia doing a fantastic job filling in for Adara, who I'm sure will be back and feeling much better. Rest up, get better. Adara, rest up, get better. Fabian and Ramin. Special shout out to Sean, of course, who's not here, Brendo, and big shout out to Andre today because he switched the show all day today by himself.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure when he ate or went to the bathroom, but he did somehow manage to make it through the day. So everyone give a big shout out. Throw some ones and appreciation, Andre. You don't see Assassino's face very often because he just makes us look and sound good.
Shout out to you as well.
All day long. No, we don't.
Thank you for dropping the kneelage throughout the day. Yeah, of course.
Well, I'm in a good mood because Michigan State won yesterday, so hopefully they can win tomorrow and head on to the next round because we absolutely love the tournament. I want to appreciate all of you viewers out there. Wherever you are, have a fantastic weekend. Rest up. We're expecting volatility to stay, so let's be real. We want to be ready for the markets next week, and I will end things off. I hate to end it off on a sad note, saying, hey, let's all celebrate and say rest in peace to a legend who passed, and that was Chuck Norris. It's kind of sad to hear it happen. The dude was an absolute legend. Let's all try to trade like that man lived, which is legendary. We'll see you 8 a.m. Monday morning. We are Trader TV Live. Have a good one, guys.